Like Laura, don't have any answers. I'm just going to present the story, and this is where we're at, and we don't know where we're going. But I think with Zen and Laura's presentation, this is going to feed really well into mine here. Mine's a little bit different. Mine really didn't have the repro aspect of it. More just piglet issues and real subtle. But the herd overview is it's a 3,500 head sow farm. PRRS positive, stable. Our last break was in November of 16 with 174 virus. We are mycoplasma positive, and the farm did go through an expansion project in the last couple years, and we first started entering gilts in the spring of 2016, and along with this expansion, we added on a pen gestation barn where we have 80 sows in a pen, and they do the last 8 weeks of gestation in that barn. So there's a learning curve going to that barn that threw a little curveball at us with abortions and nips. But this is what I consider the face of PCV3. I mean, this is what when I first was called out to look at these pigs. This pig here and Farrowing here. This is what they were looking like. Ears pinned back, and rough hair on the head. Thin, gant, slab-sided pigs. And their eyes are almost closed almost. It's almost like they got a headache or they got some encephalitis of some sort. And, this pig here is, let's say we do mid-finishing. These pigs, I assume they were all going to die when they left the farm, early in the nursery stage, but a lot of them lived. And they actually made it to market, a lot of them. But this is, I think, the classic pig that I see out in the finishers, or especially in the farrowing crates. It's those ears are pinned back and they look pale, almost got a yellow appearance to them a lot of times. So that thing just sticks out to me. And then as I've gone further on, after seeing this initial case, I see it in other farms too. So it's not just one farm that I'm seeing it in. Timeline events here, February of this year is when the first clinical signs of PCV were seen in this farm. We first saw it in pigs really at day 1 to 10 days of age is when the farrowing manager called and it's like, man, we got some rough looking pigs here. Clinically, it appeared like PRRS. We assumed it was PRRS, got some rough-looking pigs. We thought either there was a new virus introduction or just maybe a shift of the herd virus. Like I said, pale skin, rough hair coat, ears pinned back in these pigs, and some humpback pigs also we're seeing. So February 6th, went out to the farm, drew some blood in these young pigs, 2 to 10 days of age, sent it in for PRRS PCR testing, and the results were negative. So wow, I was surprised by that. Really threw me for a little curveball there, and so I just said, well, let's throw some more tests there. So we added PCV through there, and so the results come back PCV3 positive, and circle 2 was negative at the time on these pigs. Once again, this is typical weaned pigs here. This pig here. Easy to pick out, rough pig, ears back, and just got that longer hair on his head, rough looking eyes, and many of his litter mates, look good. Bright and alert, ears up, look good. These pigs are pretty easy to pick out. Just another pig in a different barn, I guess. This is the wean to finish barn. Same thing, backbone showing, not eating well, slab-sided, ears back again. So went back to the farm after this initial test. Talked to Dr. Ross in between. And he said, "Well, you know what? Let's do a big workup on it. I want to look at all the tissue." He's like, "Throw the kitchen sink in there." And so we picked out a lot of tissue. And then at the end, we should have sent whole pigs up to Dr. Ross. So it would have saved a lot of work, but we didn't. So we dissected pigs in the farm. And 2 weeks later, we saw clinical signs in these pigs, basically in all of farrowing. They were, from 5 to 23 days of age. Saw probably more clinical signs in the older pigs. And roughly, 2 to 3% of the pigs were affected, which is roughly 100 to 150 pigs, you could easily pick out from the litters. And it wasn't like his whole litters. It was just like maybe, 2 or 3 pigs from a litter. A few whole litters were affected. But just kind of random everywhere. And this time the sows showed no clinical signs. The sows were fine and healthy, felt good, eating and milking well. So on these samples, we picked out 5-day pigs and 23-day-old pigs, and we posted them on the farm to collect tissue. And these are some of the postmortem stuff we found just grossly. It's like we had 4 pigs of each age group. And 1 out of 4 pigs had thin, non-clotting blood. 2 out of 4 had viral, heavy, wet, pneumonia-like lungs. 2 of the 4 pigs had edema on the heart. And you visually could see that. You could just see the little edema around the edges of the heart. I think that's the epicarditis that Zen and Laura were talking about. Spiral colon edema, we had that in all the pigs, consistent with, usually see that in Clostridium or Salmonella. And also on all these pigs, the stomachs were full, full of milk, digested milk. So these pigs were feeling good and eating well off the sow. The 23-day-old pigs, did 4 of them also. Similar blood, pneumonia, and heart lesions. Did find 1 pig out of 4 with a very friable liver, consistent with septicemia of strep or parasuis. 2 of the 4 had fibrin in the abdominal cavity. That was, really obvious to see. Probably consistent with like a strep. And we did grow strep and parasuis in low numbers out of these pigs. It wasn't like it was a lot. The stomachs in these pigs were not as full. These pigs were poor-doing pigs. They weren't nursing like their pen mates were. And the stomachs were only about 1/3 to 1/2 full of milk. Sent tissue to University of Minnesota. And all samples were PCV3 PCR positive. And tissue positive would include bone marrow, brain, heart, spinal cord, stomach, and tissue homogenate. And our CTs ranged from 18 to 37. Generally, CTs were lower in the older pigs, had more issues in them. Histology stuff. Thanks, Laura, for showing that slide. I don't have any histology pictures. But it was a systemic lymphoplasmacytic periarteritis, which is, a systemic vasculitis, which is what, reported in the other 2 cases. Tissue involved is everything. Everything I said in had it. Spleen, kidneys, spinal cord, brain, duodenum, colon, lymph nodes, and skeletal muscle. And, these lesions were more pronounced in the older pigs. We also had, about half of those pigs were PCV2 positive. Saw more issues or more positives in the 5-day-old pigs versus the 23-day-old pigs. And our CT range was 12 to 37. Had some stronger CT values, and pretty much most of them lesions and stuff were found in the heart and spinal cord. Histology results, we had that myocarditis. We talked about that. Dr. Rosso said these lesions were consistent with in utero infection. And this herd we did go through an expansion, so we did bolus a lot of gilts in this farm, over a 20-week period. And you always question, the vaccine. Did we get them all done right? Was there good compliance? There was a team doing this on the farm workers, and they're like fast. Said they could vaccinate them fast. I'm like, didn't know fast was always good. So I don't know what that played in this, but we did have a little noise of PCV2 here also. Also, we found Clostridium perfringens in 4 out of the 4 5-day-old pigs. I think that was that spiral colon edema we saw just grossly, but this is important later, because currently right now, we saw rough pigs, but we had no scours on the farm at all. This farm, we had brand new farrowing room, and we just didn't have any scours to speak of. Very nice ventilation, new floors, and nice system there. Stuff that was negative, there was no PRRS, no flu, no rotavirus, no Seneca virus, and no salmonella. So we didn't have a lot of noise with other viruses. As far as PRRS were positive or stable. We weren't leaking anything out. So the PRRS didn't really have a co-infection, I guess. So the timeline, as we went from February, when you saw the initial stuff, we get, things were clicking along okay. The initial number of pigs was down. We've never seen that many pigs like we saw in the February time frame. We always could find a few here and there. But I was walking through doing a herd check, and we noticed just right at the end we saw 1 litter vomiting. And it's like, boom, that since PED, it's like that catches your attention right now. It's like, ooh, that's not normal, because they didn't just get vaccinated. They didn't just have iron. They weren't just processed. They were just kind of on their own now. And then they had a little bit of diarrhea with it, and we just kind of let it go. And then 2 or 3 days later, the manager calls, like, yeah, we got a lot more scours going on in these pigs, 7 to 14 days of age. And then we sent some samples in, and we had Clostridium perfringens confirmed again in these pigs. And as I went back later, in that time frame, those pigs 7 to 14 days old, we probably had 7 to 10% of the litters affected. So it wasn't devastating, wasn't throughout, but it it did cause some issues later on. Go to a month later into June here, the Clostridium kind of moved a little bit. It wasn't in those 7 to 14-day-old pigs. It moved to the 20-day-old pigs, and then we started struggling with wean weights. And this time the pigs were a lot smaller going out the door. Get to the end of July, the Clostridium's gone. The scours cleared up, and we got good-looking pigs again, and the wean weights are back to normal. So as we're going through this time frame here, we just charted out the free pigs, and free pigs on this farm are anything under 6 pounds and ruptures, kind of the typical standards. And this is, over here we started back in, the graph goes back to June of 2017 until late August here. So we really started seeing, an increase right here. This is February of 18. We had a spike there, and we were just kind of bumping along, got a few more, but then we really saw a spike here in late April and May and June here. This is when we had those Clostridium scours. So it's definitely got some noise there. And then we kind of trended back down here again here. In July, we didn't have scours. And back here, we're trending back up again because scours returned on us a little bit. Wean weights, this graph is basically from 2018 to present, and this is in pounds. Our wean weights at the start of the year were really nice. We're bumping that 14.5 pounds on these pigs, and coming back in, we're trending down, trending the wrong way here. And in August here, we're pushing, really more like we're under more like 13.5 or so. So we're losing a fair amount of weight here. And I don't know if you can see this, but right in the June time frame here, it's hard to see it, but this is our first Clostridium scours. That really took a hit on us there, and we've recovered out of that now. Don't know where we're going to end up. So July, we're clean again. Scours looks good. Piglet quality's improving. August, piglets look dumpy again. Same thing. We got scours back. And we're seeing this PCV3 looking pigs and farrowing. There's still not a lot of them around, but you can still find them. And the sow status really didn't change. The sows still look and feel good. There's not much going on there. You talk to, the practitioners and D labs, and they're like, well, it's repro stuff, or it's failure to thrive after weaning stuff. And these pigs, they always have done good post-wean. They've continued to start well and eat well, and there's no complaints from the guys out in the barns taking care of them. So I wanted to look at some sow stuff. And on this farm, and all these next graphs coming up here, they're all a year. So September of 17 until current. So this is the conception rates we've had, and we've got a really nice trend. This farm, these guys can breed the sows. They do a really good job. There's many weeks where 95 to 97% conception rate in these guys. So we're going in the right direction. The guys are doing a great job there. So we're not seeing any dip in that. Farrowing rate, that's just a beautiful line, I think. And we're 90%, for a year. And so this farm is really performing well. They're just clicking along. It's a very stable trend here. Herd interventions. Albert asked me to present that, and it's like we did nothing. We wanted to see what was going to happen. We didn't know what we were going to do, and as far as vaccinations, we didn't change anything for 6 months, and we did here at the end of August. Here, we got some more noise going. The piglet quality went down again. We did decide to boost the herd with a Circle mycoplasma vaccine. And we did all the gilts also in the farm. And then we're going to add a Circle booster at gilt selection time, which we were not doing. Just wanted to get you another picture here. Another pig, post-wean, ears, rough hair, eyes. They just look like their head hurts in these guys. So we started want to look at some performance stuff on the piglet side here and see how the sows are doing. And this here is for a year also. You see we got a nice trend in total-born. We're basically starting at 15 a year ago. We're probably pushing 15.2 to 15.3 now. I think our gilt acclimation, the farm is working. We're working real hard to get that done right, and they're having a lot of pigs. But look at our live-born. It's like we're definitely going the wrong way there. We're at 13.6 a year ago. Here's our dip. This is May and June. This is when that Clostridium hit, and that really started knocking our live-born down. And as we're going up again, and then I think it feels like we're going back down again, but we're sure going the wrong way with live-born on this farm. Stillborns, someone had a question on stillborns. We're for sure going the wrong way on this also. We basically a year ago we were at, we're at 1. Real nice, and we're clicking up. We got way too many. And once again, this June time frame right here, everything's going the wrong way in June on us here. And then we're slipping back down again, getting better. It feels like you're on a roller coaster ride in this farm. You're good, and then you're like, ooh, not so good. Mummies really pretty flat, maybe a slight increase in mummies. Haven't really noticed them at all, really. We got some up and down lines there as a trend. I think we're going a little high, but really not what Laura's seeing. Previewing mortality, a year ago we were at 10%, sitting real nice, but that thing keeps creeping up on us too. And it's just been up and down the whole time. Once again, June, got a spike up in there. Pigs weaned, pigs weaned per sow farrow is what this graph is. We were probably, pushing 12.4 a year ago here, and we just continue to make slide down in the wrong direction. Once again, June, that really was a tough time for us right there. NIPS is maybe, as we transitioned from the expansion into this new pen gestation barn, there was a learning curve there for us and for the farm staff also. We had more NIPS than we wanted to out there, but we were trying to learn how to use that barn. We had sows fighting, going into pens, and sows going down, and sows had to be euthanized from that. I think we started doing stuff differently, but as you can see here, we got quite a few here. This thing really, February right here is when we found Circle 3, and it's just kind of been going up since then. We're looking like we got a little dip down here in July here, but we got way too many. One thing that, it all looks great here, hindsight's 2020, but as you're going through this thing weekly on a basis, you kind of feel like it's not much going on, because our parities are getting older, and I say a year ago when our production was really good, we had nice young sows. We had a lot of 2s and a lot of 3s in the farm, and those girls, they can lay down and have a lot of pigs, and they can have them fast, they don't have a lot of stills, and they can milk really well. Well, now we're from this expansion, we have a lot of parity 5s in the farm that are going to get worked out of the farm here probably in 10 weeks or so. And so we are getting a little on the older side, more older girls than we like to. So that kind of put a little noise in looking at some of the stuff on a weekly basis. But I don't think it's totally due to the age of our sows. In summary, at the clinical picture, when you first get the call, was similar to PRRS. It fooled me. I assumed it was PRRS, and it wasn't, and just had to do further testing to find it. Trends are lower in this farm. Total-born's down, LIVEBORN, pigs weaned, and Wean Weight are all down, last 6 months. Stuff that's trending higher, we're having definitely more stills and more nips and a few more mummies. On this farm, we are having good conception rates and good farrowing rates. That has not changed at all. This is just another picture of a pig. This is that pin back ear thing. You guys see that? That may be something you want to investigate a little more. Pin back, rough looking pig. Litter mates looking good. It's not a lot of pigs. This is kind of the same picture there. This was something interesting. The first pigs that come out, they closed that barn out a couple weeks ago, and I followed them pretty hard. And these pigs here, there was a fair number of them that got weaned in there, and I assumed that they wouldn't make it, and went there just to do some testing and looking at them, and these pigs are still there. I don't know if the original ones died and these ones turned into Circle 3 looking pigs. I did bleed these pigs, and they were PCV3 positive on PCR, with about a 30 or 32 CT, but they did make it to market, and I was very surprised about that. There's just another one of those there. They got the ears on them, and you got some humpback. Kind of ugly looking pigs, but most of them did make it out. Just clinical impressions, I guess. This farm was really subtle going into this thing. It was never really a wreck, never a disaster. We always weaned good pigs out, and a lot of them actually. As we go into this, when you look back at it, 4 months in, so basically a turn through farrowing is when we had the poorest quality of pigs. And those pigs in July that got that Clostridium scours, those are the ones that could really hurt us there. In the last 3 months, July, August, have been kind of a roller coaster. We're up and down. The pigs are different every time you visit the farm. The pigs in the wean finish have done surprisingly well. They start, and these pigs, they typically seroconvert to the herd PRRS. It varies. If they go to the nursery, they'll seroconvert basically about time you move them to finisher, or at finisher, the trucking stress will get them to go. And if you put them in a wean and finish barn, it'd be more like 8 to 12 weeks, and they'll go through it much easier there. Pigs have done pretty well, really, in the finisher. We did have one barn get hit with a lateral introduction of PRRS and flu, and they did take it very hard. They went down real bad. A lot of gastric ulcers. They recovered, I'd say, but the gastric ulcers got them. This whole herd vaccination, we just did this thing, end of August here, and the pigs turned around on a dime, and there's, some conclusions from that. Was it just the adjuvant in the vaccine stimulated the overall immune system to get them pigs and everything feeling better? Or was there a co-infection of Circle 2 in this farm? Because we found some noise, and that we got that leaking out. We find that a few times in a finisher. Then we just boosted the Circle 2, and now we're going to feel better about it. Or is there cross protection with the Circle 3? Because the vaccine we had doesn't have it in there. Don't know that. Or was it going to get better on its own? Because we've been on a little roller coaster ride this summer, and if we did nothing, maybe it would have been the same way. We just don't know. I guess my opinion is that I think the clinical signs are going to continue. I think this thing feels like it's just starting, and we're seeing more farms maybe showing leaking some PCV3 out. I think it's probably going to continue this little roller coaster ride, and I think it might possibly affect our wean to finish more in the future, but I don't know for sure. That's a guess.